Today is Tuesday, May 6th, 2025. It is 6:30 on the button. Can I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed,
Aye.
no. The ayes have it. We're now in closed. Excellent. The clock is 2 minutes slow. Call the meeting of the Shoreham Town Council back to order. We had a closed session. Can I have a motion to seal the minutes, please?
So moved.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And then can I now have a motion to convene the Board of License Commissioners, please?
So moved.
Second, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, no. All right. Before us tonight is just so you know, Sadie, and for the public, we have to do two things. The first thing we have to do, because of the way our ordinance works, is we have to have a motion to waive basically the timelines, because the way our liquor permitting works, we only accept liquor permit applications for a certain period of time. So that's the first thing we do. And then if that passes, then we consider the permit. I just want to give you a sense procedurally, because it's a little wonky. So anyway, I'm assuming that the relief is that this is a location that has had a BVL before. Is that right, Millie? And it was relinquished presumably while you were in lease negotiations with them or thereabouts, right? Come on up here, Sadie, and identify yourself. And
Sadie, can Hi, Council. Thanks for seeing me. I'm Sadie Flateman, and I'm asking relief for my BVL beverage application for applying out of time. The reason is that the opportunity to have this lease did not come about until April. And the lease started mid-April. So there was no opportunity to apply in the standard window.
go ahead, Nancy.
So I'll make a motion to entertain this request out of time based on the fact that it was physically impossible to deal with it before April, according to the applicant, and that this location has held a license in the past, and there would be arguably a community benefit to have another eatery of sorts, especially one that.
Pizza is always a public benefit, right? Is that?
And
Is there a second to that motion? I would second it.
Okay.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
No.
So it's 3-2.
So I'm going to vote yes,
Yeah.
but I kind of want to explain it because we've had several of these and I have to admit, I don't love them coming out of time.
Yeah.
But we've heard 3 recently. This one, as Nancy said, it previously held a BV license and I believe we approved it in November, right? So we did approve a BVL license for this location for a different owner in November.
Right.
So for that reason, I just feel like it's different than the one I voted no,
Totally.
not
Fair
to
enough.
go out of time on
Fair
a
enough.
couple weeks ago. That's why I want to explain it. But yes, I'll vote yes.
So now before us is your application itself, Sadie. Can you walk us through your ideas here?
Sure.
Can I just interrupt for a second? So if it was granted in November, why wouldn't this just be a transfer?
They abandoned the license in February.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Just
So the concept of the menu is to have pizza and raw bar, sourcing as much as possible from sources on Block Island, having some other menus that reflect the saltwater foodways of Block Island. We're working with the quahoggers and oyster farmers and sourcing as much of the produce from farms on the island, aggregating from 4 or 5 farms. So having the BVL license would be a huge benefit to our business, which ultimately benefits the community, benefiting the community in the continuity of this license at the location where it has been historically, and it has not been in business for a few years. To have that revived would be a benefit to the community and also to the success of our business, which would afford us the ability to work with more local farms, and employ people in the community.
Any questions for Sadie?
So, I have a question. So the lot, 134 has several buildings on it, and it's difficult to tell from this map, Millie. Are we looking at the serving area is just for the area in front of the pizza?
The serving area is, it's 125 Corneck. It's the pizza place building, so it would be the patio outside and inside. The patio in front of the
Okay,
building.
so it'd be to the east of the walkway, the area to the east of the walkway and the interior.
Yes,
Okay,
Where the gravel is?
yes.
okay, but not towards the driveway. Not towards Diamond Blue and,
No.
okay. Thanks.
Good question. Is that clear in the application, Millie? Or do we have to, if we were to make a motion?
It was actually kind of in this area. The area that's within the fence. So you are, so.
So then you are including the yard to the east, yeah.
Fenced, the entire fenced in area. Because that's our service area. Is there, would there be a reason to not?
That to me is a lot of open space to be serving. When I honestly glanced at it, I thought we were talking about the porch in front and the gravel, sort of.
I mean, previously I agree, there's been no tables in that
Right.
area previously,
Yeah.
so.
Some limits, but yeah, they're depicting people there. But we can look at limiting it. Yeah,
I think there's more of a feeling that it should be limited if you want to get this license than expanding it.
I mean, was it limited previously?
I don't have that application with us.
I don't think it ever had any limit.
So I'll ask you to just go back to the, program, just because people, at home will feel. Thank you so much.
Millie, did you pass that over to see what she's marked on that?
Sure, I think that it's under discussion at the moment.
Yeah.
It's not terribly clear on that either.
I believe that the location has had the liquor license for decades. And it's included that whole area.
Right, but I think the question is when you look at the building, that area on the right, I honestly don't recall there being any tables. It was all, as you went up the walkway, it was all to the left. There were a few
That's
tables.
my recollection as well,
Yeah.
Nancy.
We did have to remove a table from that area, and I've seen photos of it. So I know that there was service there before. It's
That
in Google Images.
The fact that there might have been before, though, Sadie, doesn't necessarily mean that we have to approve that area going
Certainly.
forward. I think I always thought there was plenty of space on the front left of the building, as we'd call it. Bill, do you and either one of you?
Yeah,
wanna
I,
say?
I remember it being the, that gravel area that we have, but,
So I think, I think you're getting the sense that, if there's support for this, it's for a service area that is, on the north, let's see, what would that be?
Yeah, yeah.
Basically the gravel area and the grass around that, not not the spot to the southern side of the path.
I also have some concern that the license doesn't automatically go with the building, the business that was there. If that were the case, it would have been transferred over from that, so that's not what the case is here. And usually when there is a new license, it's nice to see that the business has established itself responsibly and run and so forth. That's my only reservation from that end of it. My question would it be able to be run through the summer and then you come back and in the fall, when you've established a business and established how it's run and request a license in October for the following season.
Any other questions?
Are you planning on staying open all season or just for the
I,
summer months?
I would like to, but the building is not heated. So I believe we could stay open through October.
Mhm.
If that changes one day, I would be open year round. And we might be able to use the ovens year round and have a simpler menu like breads and to-go items.
Sure.
And did I miss, is the hours of operation, are they on? I couldn't,
It'll be 12 to 10 p.m.
okay.
Further questions? So I would make a motion to approve this license. Millie, help me with the stipulation that the liquor service area be limited to the, just say that is Tristan, the northern side of the path?
The area in front of
Is that
the,
east or north?
that's
North.
north.
Northeast. That's a good compromise.
Well, I think in the past, I think I actually made a motion for the surf property to have an area that didn't go over the driveway.
Yes, you
So-
do. Yes.
You could entertain that would be.
Yeah.
Not to go south of the driveway.
Yes.
The walkway.
So what I heard, if this is,
Yes,
if
please.
this is useful, to limit the service area to the front of the building, to the north side of the entry sidewalk, which includes the gravel area and the grassy area. And I think that you want to have some kind of definition to the back of the lot. So if you can let me know how far to the side of the building you'd like that to go.
It is fenced in though on that side, correct?
There's
There's a side with the yellow kittens.
Yeah, there's
It's a small L. on the fence.
vegetation there.
What's it?
Yeah, by Winfield. Yes, there's a fence over there.
One side is fenced in. The
Right.
side by the driveway is not because it's broken, but it will be
Sure.
replaced.
Gotcha.
So it will be entirely fenced in.
So you'll be putting a fence as you come in that driveway up the side of the driveway?
Yes.
Keith, if I can just jump in, if we could have some rationale for your motion, just reasons why you're limiting the service area for the record, please.
Certainly.
Well, the first one would be the traffic in and out.
Yes.
Yeah.
The roadway servicing those three structures on there. You got a road going right through the middle of it. And if I'm not mistaken, isn't there something about service in and around parking and driveway area in the application?
We'd
There
eliminated
cannot
that.
be service in a parking lot?
That's just been a policy of the council the last couple of years.
Okay.
Like the motion that we adopted, your motion on the surf. Yeah.
And I think also, Nick, that, you know, based on this is a business where the restaurant is inside, people take their pizza and so forth outside, and it's a matter of being able to contain it and be able to monitor it.
Thank you.
Is that good, Nick?
I'm satisfied.
Can you also add in your motion that the time of operation would be from 12 to 10 PM at night?
Yes.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
So Keith, just for clarity, you're incorporating the reasons stated by other members of the board into your motion, correct?
Indeed, I am.
Which has been
Nick.
seconded. Thank you.
Thank you. Your clairvoyance continues to amaze me. I appreciate it, man. George, did you want to say something before we vote on this?
Well, if it's appropriate, I'd like to stand in support. You've already made the motion, or you haven't made the motion yet. But anyway, George Davis, Seaweed Lane. I stand in support of Virginica Pizza getting this BVL license. I've known Sadie for about 6 years now. She lives here all year. She's a year-round oyster farmer. As you know, many of you have seen her truck all through the winter, right across the street from Town Beach, working hard. And it's been one of her dreams, and she can correct me if I overstate it, but one of her dreams is to bring a restaurant to the island that serves locally sourced farm fresh food and seafood. And she's doing her part now with the oyster farm, and she wants to continue that at this location, which became an opportunity just a month ago. So it's a little maybe ahead of her time schedule, but she's ready to make a go of it. And I think this is the sort of person and business that is worthwhile. And I appreciate the fact that you are making an exception to consider this out of the time frame, because I hate when people do that myself. I'm kind of a law and order type, I think, but exceptions have to be made in the right situation. And I am very proud to say she's my friend, and I will support this business. And hopefully, if it's successful in the BVL license, I think will help that. Who wants to have pizza without beer? Maybe some of us, but certainly not when we were younger. We always had to do that. So I think it'll help her make it successful, and maybe the restaurant can become a year-round restaurant if, you know, it gets heating and she's successful enough and the owner wants to give her that kind of lease. But I say, let's support her and see how she can do. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Sadie, I have one question for you. If you had heat, would you, or you had the ability to stay open up to the winter, would you? Is that does your lease allow that, first of all?
It doesn't allow it only because it's not heated.
Yeah.
If that were a possibility, I definitely would.
It's good to know. All right, so Millie, we have a motion and a second. We square? Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That's 4-1. Good luck. I hope the pizza's good. I know the oysters are good. I hope the wine is good. Good. Thank you. All right, Sadie, take care. See you, George. Can I have a motion to adjourn the Board of License Commissioners,
moved.
please? Second.
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're reconvening the council meeting. Is there any public comment tonight, David? When we get to item 5 on the consent agenda, I'm going to ask for a motion to remove item 5C, approving recommendations for the Motor Vehicles for Hire Commission, not because there's anything wrong with them, but because we have
Can I ask you to 5C1 only?
5C. one
Just remove
only.
it.
Yes, right.
Oh,
Thank you. 5C1 only. Yes. Can I just have a motion for that just to make it as clean
So
as it
moved.
possibly can? Second.
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. So the first matter we have is the renewal of motor vehicles for hire licenses. Which, I don't want to be presumptuous, but I think.
So
I'll-
we'll,
I'll recuse
we haven't,
Emily and
we'll be
Kristen.
breaking that up into actually two separate.
That's what
motions.
that's what I'm doing. I'm doing the,
Oh, so you're pulling.
Doing-
So we're gonna do the
first,
bus
then
and then
Doing
we're
the-
gonna do taxi.
you want to do bus first?
Yeah,
Was bus-
either way is fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
do the bus first.
Okay,
Okay, do the bus.
And I'll recuse on the bus.
thank you.
Can I have a motion to renew New Charm charter bus licenses for 25-26 for William McComb and Patrick Evans, pending receipt of appropriate paperwork and licensing fees?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. Now on to the 25-26 taxi licenses.
I'll recuse for family
Okay.
matter. Relation.
I'll make a motion to renew the New Charm taxi licenses for the 25-26 license year for Victoria Carson, Judy Clark, John Cullen, Gloria Hall, Charles Douglas, Tom Durden, Mark Emanuel, Patrick Evans, Fiona Fitzpatrick, Nat Gaffett, Richard Gann, John Grant, Ann Hall, Jeffrey Hall, Deborah Hart, Monica Holshay, Fred Leader III, Vin McAloon, Timothy McCabe, Ruth McTeague, David Milner, Christine Monge, Brian Neville, Frank Nicastro, Christopher O'Neill, Kathy Payne, James Rondinone, David Schaller, and David Schaller, Sue Ann Shaw, Michael Shea, Richard Trethaway, and Jeffrey Ernst, all pending receipt of appropriate license fees and paperwork with the stipulation that drivers state rates to passengers prior to departure. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. All set. Tristan? Now the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
And I'll point out one more thing on this one, if you don't mind.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
We have,
If you want to just remove the item regarding from Judy Gray, item number D.
5D.
so remove D.
Yes.
Is that to be taken up later?
She may resubmit something, I mean, she
Okay.
may resubmit something on
Thank
her
you.
own, or she may resubmit something.
Can I have a motion to remove item 5D, please? Second,
Second.
all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. So D's removed. So this motion would contemplate the approval of the taxi bus and limousine wait list, just for clarity for the council and for the public. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? A second.
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. On to number 6, discuss and act on board, commission, and committees. The first up is the reappointment of Tom Doyle to the Sewer and Water Commissions with a term expiring April of 2030. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Oh, second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no.
With thanks to Tom.
Yes, and hoping that he has a new colleague for an item that has been on our agenda for 18 months. All right, 7, take it away, Amy and Millie.
So back to the Thomas property, and we're actually going to start probably with Nick in terms of the information that we don't yet have from the Attorney General's office.
Sure,
Thank you.
happy to. Amy and I had a call with James Callahan today. He was at your last meeting when this matter came up. James has a contact at the Department of Attorney General that deals with charitable trust matters, charitable bequests, which are gifts in wills. So he's reached out to that contact. He's waiting to hear back just for some guidance. So we're in a bit in limbo, but James is on it, and we expect to provide an update as soon as possible.
In the meantime, though, it felt important to continue down our path
Mm.
so that we're not delaying occupancy
Sure.
at all.
Yes.
And one of the goals would be if we can particularly move forward on rent decisions, that gives us enough information to do that initial reach out to the police officers. And depending on what the response is, that may allow us to run parallel paths anyway, even without resolution from the Attorney General. So you do have new drafts in front of you. Before we talk about rents, let's start with the duplex units. There was another element that we had missed when we put the policies together, and that relates to the zoning section 513 that is specific to town employee housing. And that's the section that enabled us to put the 4 units on the Thomas property. That section requires that if there becomes no immediate need for the housing by the town, meaning town employees, it may be rented on a yearly basis to a resident qualifying as low or moderate income. And so that restriction needs to integrate then with the consent order restrictions in our hierarchy. So you'll see that introduced throughout the policy, where on the duplex units, moving from police officers down to town and school employees. After that, we have a new category, which are town residents who qualify as low or moderate income as set by Rhode Island Housing. And so Appendix B on the policy for the duplex units identifies the 2025 income thresholds for that definition. It's actually on the last page of the duplex unit policies.
Thank you for picking that up.
It was a it was a late addition. And so that becomes part of what we need to solicit in the applications for that category so that we can demonstrate that they qualify based on income. It also requires that the rent amounts meet the state statutes for being affordable. And the numbers that we've put together here meet that criteria. So what's currently proposed is 1,100 for the 1-bedroom and 1,500 for the 2-bedroom. That does meet that low and moderate income criteria as set by the state. I've also run a new sheet that we looked at last week that helps contextualize those rent amounts for town
That was
employees and
helpful.
town police
Thank you.
officers.
And so just to clarify, right, so the low and moderate income qualifications apply to general public once it's been through town employees.
Correct. It does not apply to town employees. It is the next level after that.
Thank you.
On the list of things that will eventually need to be cleaned up, if you will, is it would appear that that 513 ordinance removes any opportunity to rent to the general public because it says you must rent to a qualifying applicant that meets that criteria. That's obviously in conflict with that last section of the consent order. We hope to never get to that level anyway, but when we do clean up that consent order, we'll also tackle that element.
Okay.
So that's the major addition in terms of content. And then we have the, like I said, the adjustments to the rents. So I'm happy to start wherever people want.
Can we start from the top and just work our way down and then maybe we can leave the rent thing separate. We'll go to that. Cause I had a few questions on if it's fine with everyone. Where it says the units shall be occupied by the leasing and not shall be sublet. I guess it's really a question for Nick. So if I'm renting this, does sublet mean if I have an extra bedroom in there, can I rent that bedroom out?
So sublet usually means if I rent to you, Bill, you then the sublet would be you renting to somebody else.
Okay, so even though I'm like traditional sublet, you rented it to me and then I rent it to Tristan and I'm not living there. If I'm renting it, would I be able to rent a room in that house to two people, if I had a 2-bedroom and I wasn't using the other bedroom, can that employee rent that bedroom out, or is that considered part of considered a sublease?
I would consider that a sublease.
Okay, good.
So we sort of went around and around on that. And one, I wasn't sure where the council fell on the concept to begin with. I think precluding subleasing is important. And Nick will help me understand whether we can then take application from a joint household, meaning if you had 2 adults who were applying together for a 2-bedroom, can we treat them as a household in that context so that it's not a sublease? We want to prevent that in general.
Can you explain that again, Amy? I'm sorry, I didn't follow.
Sure. It's sort of trying to deal with the situation where you have a 2-bedroom
Yeah.
unit, but you only need one.
Right.
I think as a general policy, we want to continue to prohibit subleasing because that opens a lot of doors that we don't want open. But could we accept application from 2 people who are creating a household? Or Nick, can you help me talk about that in a?
My question, and I think this is what Amy is answering. So my question was, if you had a 2-bedroom, could 2 teachers rent that together? You know, like the 2nd grade teacher and the 3rd grade teacher both need housing, apply together to rent a 2-bedroom.
And I think that's the intention we were looking to accommodate, but without allowing a sublet relationship.
Well, yeah, the point would be to have the 2 names on the lease right from the start.
Yeah,
Well, you could say the same for 2 officers, I suppose, as well.
Yeah.
exactly.
Or 2 guys, 2 people on the road trip.
My thing was, I wouldn't want to see, I have a unit that can hold 4 people. I'm a single guy living there, and I put 2 bunk beds and I rent to, that type of thing from there. That's why I was wondering about sublease.
100%.
But I think you've answered my question.
So I was thinking about this afternoon too, because I was thinking some of our police officers work on opposite schedules. So I was wondering the same thing. Could 2 police officers, I mean, and in fairness, some of them have homes on the mainland. They don't really need another home here, but they do need a clean, quiet place. But could they also do the same thing and rent a place together?
I think what we're talking about is aligned in terms of intention and how
Right.
we would execute that, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and then as you go down there, pets. I thought we discussed last time that we wouldn't just say pets are allowed. We would do it on like a case-by-case basis because of the location of the properties and the fact that it's also just across the street from the school
And that is language that's in the lease, that it's prior approval.
prior
So-
approval needed.
So this should reflect that too then,
Okay.
Yeah.
right? Just so that, otherwise you wouldn't want someone coming back and say, well, your policy says something different from that end of it. And then jumping up to back where it says the leasee occupied a unit upon their employment shall vacate the unit upon employment termination. I think we need to, because it's in also with the town managers, some type of a time frame that we have. And there's 2 areas I look at. So suppose I'm a teacher. When does my employment end? Is it end of June? I get paid through September. So that's one. And then the other one would be is that if I'm going to vacate, particularly if I have furniture and everything, I think there should be whether it's 30 days or whatever we come with, and then we can deal with it if there's an exception to that. But without a solid number, I think it's too
Right, so
arbitrary.
again, that's over in the lease agreement. And most of them or the town's standard practice is 30 days. In terms of a grace
Yep.
period for exit, I think we would consider for a teacher or somebody in a more unique seasonal circumstance, that lease agreement's probably going to extend to the end of the school year. So I think there's flexibility in that lease agreement to capture those nuances, but 30 days is our standard.
Can we reflect that in the policy also? The
Sure,
30 days?
my concern is that too much in the policy and we've lost people in a lot of details, but we can include it.
Yeah, well, I think I think, I don't want
And-
someone coming back and say, well, our policy says something different, I think they should mirror each other, And I do think, Amy, and I don't have the answer to this, I think we do have to, if we end up with the teachers, we have to we have to get that clarified. When is termination, in other words, I'm whatever teacher, I'm not coming back in September. Does that mean I have to be out in July, or does that mean I have to be out at the end of September? Because that's my 30 days. You follow me?
Yeah, I would expect that to be the end of the school year.
Okay. It's just that,
Well-
you know what I'm saying? Some of this, they're paid through, well, I'm gonna pay through the year to whatever. So
But if we do that, if we say the end of the school year, which is June, don't we want to have that unit available if a teacher is hired over the summer? So we don't want to leave it vacant over the summer. Why don't we just put the end, it would be like August 1st. Then we'd get some rent.
So that's where I would prefer to leave that latitude out of the policy rather than being explicit here and handle it on a case-by-case situation, knowing that our standard is a month's grace period with some nuance. I think that's going to serve us better in the long run, rather than specifying it here in a way that becomes fixed for everyone across all situations.
And I hate to have anything fixed. My only concern is that some of this conversation not get lost a year from now.
Yeah.
When somebody else is trying to decide what they're supposed to do. But just
If
a,
it's
aside-
easier to change the lease.
I was going to
than
say
the- Than this, right?
a side question is, I would expect each lease agreement to come to the council, just like any other
that's what I was gonna ask. you.
instrument of the town.
Mhm.
So I think there's another, I don't think it's the last time it gets discussed. But
So Amy, if there is a candidate, whatever, I know on the town manager's house, it goes to the council. I think on these houses, the police chief, particularly on the police ones, that a police officer going to occupy, the police chief and the town manager do they make a recommendation for consent through the council?
that would be my expectation, yes.
And the only reason I say that, I think on a current situation, it doesn't even enter my mind, but I think we have to have the policy that, we won't always have, we'll have some that jive better than other, whether it's councils, town manager, whatever. So I think by it coming back to the council would be good from that end of it. The recommendation with consent or whatever.
Yeah, I would consider this a consent
Yeah.
item,
Consent
but
item.
it does show up at the council level.
Sure.
Yeah, but just by showing up at the council level, it makes it public too, so that the public is aware of what's going on.
Still any others in this?
Yeah, I apologize because I was just looking over the
Take
the
your time.
revision. I only got it a while ago. No, I think a lot of good work's been done on it, and I think, I'm hoping we don't get to that lottery process that I don't, in general, I think there's a bigger need, between the police and town employees and so forth, where it's at the public end of it.
There will still be a lottery level at the town employee.
Right.
Okay. So
Right.
we will very likely get to that.
Sure.
part.
Based on
Just,
bulletin board, we're gonna get to that fast. I mean, we have a lot of people looking for
just
housing.
for clarification, I have a question about the town manager. I should wait, right, for our next document?
Yes.
So to repeat what we said, the affordable housing, if it is a town employee or police officer and town employee, that low income doesn't qualify. We're not helped by that. But only if we drop down where it goes to the public, where we would be locked into that because of like the 513.
Correct.
Yes.
Great.
And I assume again, with flexibility, when it says the lease term shall be no longer than 1 year.
That part is not flexible because that comes out of the consent order language.
Right.
That is a direct.
But that language was so that it would be available for the police.
For anything that's restricted under the police, whether that's 2 or 4, that language goes with that restriction.
So if we have a policeman and he signs on a 3-year contract, we'll just renew that each year that he
Yes.
wants that space.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not.
And if the other unit should turn out to not have that restriction, it'd follow the same like we do with the town manager's house. Right. I'm good with everything, but on this, except for, you know, obviously the dollars.
Are people comfortable with these rent amounts?
Actually, Amy, this is what they were, correct?
The first draft was 900 and 1,200.
So are these your recommendations?
Yes.
Okay, and these recommendations are, they're not, if this would had to be, low income, you know, say it was, what would that rate be?
So these do meet that criteria for being low income. I've got my page here. That section of Rhode Island general law that's quoted on there refers to a 30% maximum combination of rent and utilities. There is a separate worksheet that I did run through that estimated the utilities for each unit. So when you take our base rents and the estimated utilities, we are right at that low and moderate income level at these rents. Does that answer your question?
Yes,
Okay.
it does. So my question to you though is, you came back with the, and we had talked about this before, do we have a fixed rent? Do we have a sliding, you know, and does it get messy, whatever it might be? Are you, so obviously if you're an entry level police officer, you're comfortable with these meeting the low and affordable, but if you are at a, if you're at a, you know, a lieutenant, okay, certainly this would be, you know, the 50, well, I guess it would be 15%, correct?
Yeah.
The 2-bedroom would be 20%.
Right,
The 1-bedroom would be 15%. So that's the most extreme
right.
example. If you're a patrol officer, your 2-bedroom is going to be 25%. Again, these numbers on this page are rent only. They're not rent plus utilities.
Right.
So keep that in the back of your mind. And as we talked about last time, the pay scale for police is a little bit higher than the pay scale for other town employees. So if we're trying to keep it affordable in that top section, it's going to be a little bit more generous when compared to the pay scale for police officers. But I still think that is not an unreasonable level.
For whether it's police or whether it's a
Yeah.
town employee,
And
you're comfortable with it from that level?
Yeah, we did discuss a lot whether it should have a sliding scale, and the administration of that
Yeah.
felt very complex.
Yeah.
And so a fixed rent was really the most streamlined approach and the most transparent.
Particularly with the, you know, with the police where overtime and everything else fixed.
Yes, and this is just
Doesn't
based
make
on
a
the base
difference.
salary. Yeah.
What was it? Did you have a ballpark, not off the top of your head on the utilities, what you were anticipating when you were doing that formula for the either unit?
Yeah, for the 1-bedroom, it was just over 500, 504, I think. The 2-bedroom was closer to 6.
Right.
And again, those are not Block Island unique calculations. Those are statewide. So there's some variation in that. Yeah.
Presumably lower.
So
Who will be taking care of the property? Town or is it?
yes.
And the grounds?
Yes. That's where we'll start, you know, is I will say that may be something that evolves over time, but it would be a town
And
responsibility.
we put a
to do.
placeholder in the budget to
Yep.
cover that.
But our goal is to have these generate some revenue to help offset. I mean, so that's the,
Yes.
and that's the reason why we want to have these, like the numbers Amy came up with from that,
Yeah.
that end of it.
Mhm.
You know, fair market, whatever, to
Yeah, we have debt service to cover. We have operating expenses. We need to be, this will be in the budget next year, creating capital reserves for repairs and replacements. And so, the costs associated with those.
And what's the status of the garage that's there?
Right now, the town does have equipment in the garage, and that is the hope of the Public Works Director going forward. It's still, we're working out the details.
So parking for these units would be,
Not in the garage. One driveway is right there and the other comes around.
around from the
Yeah.
back? Okay.
And they have a basement where they have some storage, so the garage is not part of any of the rental.
The garage is not part of any of the rentals.
Okay.
Millie, I know this was a project that you spent a lot of time on. I really appreciate it. It's, I know you sort of started from here and came up with this document. It's really well done.
Yeah,
Did-
and
everything is
subject
really
that we'll
well
let
thought
it
out.
go, and see how it goes.
Yeah,
You know, for
right.
the year.
So Amy, what would you like from us?
If people are ready, I would like to, at minimum, set the rents.
Okay.
If you are ready to adopt the policies with the comments that have been talked about today, we can do that. If you'd like to see another draft incorporating those, I can understand that too.
I'm good approving what we've seen with the addition of like the little add-on about pets by prior approval. Was there another?
There's some
change?
additional language about the
Time
how
to
much time
vacate.
you have to vacate.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, and the rents as well. And again, I think everything is really well researched and really well written. Thanks. I mean, there's not a lot here to question. Great.
with a motion that does both those things?
I'd like to, I'm comfortable with the motion on having the red and set. I'd like to see our final draft. If, as long as it doesn't set you back to do that, Amy.
No, I think I can take that next step with the police department when I have rents set.
Okay. Molly, can you make the motion on the rents?
Me?
Yeah.
So I make a motion that we accept the rent as presented.
There's a second?
Second.
And I'd like to, I'd like the record to show also that, the work that's going into the rent, this wasn't a matter of, because I know there's a lot of people who say, well, what are the rents gonna be? Is it just a giveaway? I think that, I think Amy put a lot of work into doing the comparisons, and I think that's important for the public to understand that also.
Right, we have a motion that's been made and seconded regarding the rents. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Thank you, guys.
Then on the manager's house, again, almost identical, but I think somebody had specific questions they wanted to talk about.
I did have a question. And if I miss this, please kick me under the table, Nancy. Here's my late at night worry. We have, let's say, a town manager who has his or her own housing. That town manager leaves. It's mid or early lease year. And one of the things we have to do to attract a candidate who doesn't have housing is offer them that house. So how do we deal with that, say, in a lease? Because, we may, it may be in the town's interest to say, okay, you got to move out in 6 months.
So what this contemplates now,
Yeah.
is 1 year lease terms for somebody who is not the manager. In the event that you were early in a lease year and we're in the situation of needing to house a new manager, I think you have two paths. Either you are renting a place for your new manager, or you are buying out your existing tenant and facilitating them
Mhm.
moving somewhere else. If your incoming manager really wants and needs to be settled in one place and not move twice. One of them has to be in that situation.
Right.
I would be reluctant to have lease terms less than a year.
Yeah, it was a question without a suggestion. It's just something that's been scratching my head a little
I
bit.
think it's a known exposure that
Yeah.
everyone needs to be ready to deal with.
Yeah, I
when it
think that's
comes.
fair.
You know, in theory, again, you're working through that hierarchy and your tenant is likely either another executive level within the town or a higher level department head. Again, unless you've gotten down through into the general public, someone who has some invested emotion in making sure other parts of the town are running well
Mhm.
and can understand the situation that we're all in.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I think you have to give the year lease, but however, if you saw there were turmoil coming down and your lease was gonna, from September to September, we could say, hey, listen, John, we're gonna go month to month if you want to continue otherwise. So I think you see it from that end of it,
That's a good thought. Yeah.
So if,
Yeah.
And traditionally, when there's been a turnover on town manager, it isn't usually one
not
day and the next
abrupt,
person
yeah.
from there,
Yep.
so.
Yeah.
They gotta be fair to both.
I
And so
just-
like Amy said, especially if we were to put one of our, another department head or something in there too, it's.
I just felt compelled to give that
Yeah, no,
concerned
good
voice.
point.
you know?
Is that we're also gonna run into the problem occasionally where, if you're saying a year's lease, well, when does it start? I mean, do we say a calendar year, June to May, no matter when you come in? But if we get someone who comes in February,
I think you go year, by the way the calendar lines up, we may actually be able to start this lease July 1, which is my little brain loves that orderliness of that. But eventually it will get off
Right.
schedule.
yeah, I mean, we just have to deal with it as it comes along.
Yeah.
But again, in terms of, we have to deal with vacating, 30, whatever, is
Yeah,
determined.
30 days has been the provision, although the council did extend that upon request
Right,
and depending on the circumstances.
and the pets again.
So Amy, when you I'm sorry. Amy, on the, where it talks about on the town manager's house, thou shall be made available, in ranked order. I think we clarified before, town would also include sewer and water, correct?
Yes.
And then, town, school, health services, executive level employees. When you say finance director, school, you're just giving examples, correct? You're not putting that in order.
Those are examples.
Okay,
And it does include that others as established by the town council.
okay. So we're not locked in that order. Great.
Great. So on this one, I assume you would like both the policy with the pets and the vacate dates as amendments and the rent of $2,600 a month. I would make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Is there anything else we need to do before speak now or forever hold your peace? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Thank you again for your work on that.
Sure, and we'll keep working with the AG's office to clarify the
Great.
issue.
Yes. Amy, do
And-
you,
Um,
sorry,
Oh.
Nancy, sorry, Bill. Go ahead, guys.
Good.
No, I just wanted to say that we're waiting on the, James or Nick's determination because there's still a part of me that says that back unit, may not be locked in. So,
And the topic we talked about leasing and so forth, that same applies to the town manager's house, subleasing, what we had talked about. Right,
yeah.
Great.
concept wise.
Amy, do you want to carry the discuss and act on Rhode Island legislation?
Sure.
We have a resolution to
We
pass.
do have a resolution.
Why don't we start with that?
So the first item there is the statewide non-owner occupied property tax that we've talked about a few times, including with our legislators and lobbyists. There are at least two bills, House 6189 and Senate 437. There may be others. So there's a draft resolution in opposition that you have in front of you if the council wanted to take a strong position on the concept in general. I haven't specified either of the bills because there may be additional, and I think it's the concepts that really rubbed people the wrong way. And so a broad statement about our position.
I think this is well done, Amy. Thank you.
Has everyone had a chance to read it? Would you like me to read it or you're good?
No.
So here.
Yeah, why don't you read it? I think it would, for the listening audience.
Sure.
Sure. I assume it hasn't changed, but the resolution of the town of New Shoreham opposing a statewide non-owner occupied property tax. Whereas seasonal and vacation home owners are valued members of the Block Island community and contribute significantly to the property tax base, to the island's charitable organizations, and to the economies of Block Island and Rhode Island. And whereas seasonal and vacation home owners are generally excellent stewards of their properties. And whereas local property tax is the single largest revenue tool available to New Shoreham, representing 70% of general fund revenues. And whereas the town of New Shoreham works diligently within its authority to evaluate and adapt its property tax classification system to meet local needs and challenges in a way that aligns with community values. And whereas non-owner occupied properties share in a locally established property tax system designed to balance year-round and seasonal cost burdens through the direct levying of taxes by New Shoreham voters at an annual financial town meeting. And whereas the state's power to tax rests more appropriately with income tax, sales tax, and other tools. And whereas up to 85% of New Shoreham's residential properties may be classified as non-owner occupied, and more than 80% of New Shoreham's residential properties are assessed over $800,000. And whereas the proposed legislation could levy a statewide property tax on the majority of properties in New Shoreham, more than doubling the total property tax burden for those properties. And whereas a statewide property tax would undermine local authority to manage the impacts of its largest revenue source on its taxpayers. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town Council of the Town of New Shoreham objects to legislation imposing a statewide property tax on non-owner occupied properties.
Just, there's that typo.
Yeah, I caught a couple on the way down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I have would someone like to make a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
And then
just-
can I just ask one question? And you two are so thorough. This is a stupid question, but when we get to whereas up to 85% of the properties are may be classified as non-owner and 80% assess it over 800,000. That's you looked that up, right? And like that's your math. That I knew that. I'm asking a dumb question, but I just wanted to clarify that we're not. Perfect. Thank you.
And we just sort of had this conversation a little bit before. Do we want to add in, and it's up to everyone here, the town council objects to legislation imposing a statewide property tax on the non-owner occupied properties for all the above reasons, and objects to any property tax revenue being taken by the state under any circumstances.
Or implemented, or do you want taken?
Oh, I don't know. Do we want to add that in at all? Because part of the conversation was about, and part of the conversation when we had our legislators here was, well, we can ask that the money come back to the town, which is not the issue. We don't want them doing this regardless.
Could you say, the town of New Shoreham objects to legislation imposing a statewide property tax on non-owner occupied properties, regardless of how the revenue is distributed?
Yeah,
Is that the
Yes.
point you're looking to?
yeah.
Mhm.
I think it's important to add that
Sure.
point there.
And this wasn't included in my motion, and Millie, maybe you can tell me, if we wanted to send this to the municipalities, is that a separate motion that we would do that?
You could include that in what, in the same motion. At this point, it sounds like we've got us a couple of revisions anyway, so you may want to withdraw and start over or make an amendment.
Yeah.
Whichever's easier, I'll withdraw or make a new motion that, to accept the resolution with the, added, verbiage that Amy had said, and then also to solicit it to, the other cities and towns.
All the cities and towns, and to the League of Cities and Towns.
Yes. Is there a second? Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
On a second note to that, Amy, I'd like to see us send a letter to the League of Cities and Towns, because I really feel that they dropped the ball as our representative on that. And we've talked about this, and particularly, because I believe their letter, if you look in their letter, it basically is, very much the verbiage of what the bill is. And I think that point needs to be made clear beyond, our resolution with the director of the.
Sure. I've had a verbal conversation, but we'll follow up with a letter and the resolution.
And a letter from the council on it.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Moving down the list then, I don't have any updates on B, C, or D, all of which are still in play in different forms in the legislature. The last four are the New Shoreham specific items. The increase of the landing fee, which is House 6246 and Senate 980. The House bill was heard last Thursday. Jeff was there with me. I did testify in support. We're expecting the Senate bill to be heard on Thursday. I do expect to be there for that as well. We are just waiting on the sub A to be introduced, which corrects the amount. So waiting on clarification for when that will come through. On the tax classification, again, it's been heard in the House. It will be heard again on Thursday in the Senate, so I will be there for that. The school bonding item has passed the Senate. It is over on the House side. It has not been scheduled for hearing. And the water district was heard in the House. Will be heard Thursday in the Senate. I will be there for that as well. There is some definite pushback and feedback, as we heard when we talked to the
Right.
the lobbyists on that. The legislators did get the message that this was critical for us and are taking steps to separate the New Shoreham discussion from the Jamestown discussion.
Great.
But that's one reason I definitely want to be there
Yeah.
for that hearing to emphasize that
Terrific.
aspect. So all of those are moving ahead. That feels like the trickiest of the four.
Separated?
The water district in general, because of the political landscape. I don't want to say it's unique to Jamestown. I don't know that we can entirely distance ourselves from it, but there's momentum in opposition. So,
And am I correct that our theory on B, C, and D is as long as it's proposed as only enabling legislation, allowing us to do or not do?
that I think is the council's message so far on C, which is the local hotel tax. That was expected to be introduced again today. I didn't see it when we came into this meeting. The whole house rental is not going to be enabling. That's the question of where will it go? There are so many different versions out there that May 4th at the moment has not felt that we needed to put our weight behind one in particular, that things are still shuffling around. And same thing with item D, which is the additional conveyance tax. There are a lot of pieces in the air.
Look at us with 4 active bills.
Okay.
That's all I think.
Yeah.
Nice job. Excellent. Any other questions for Amy? I do think that I certainly found it helpful, and I think others did, to have, we don't have to necessarily drag Alana and Tina in, but having Jeff and Rick, I think, at an upcoming meeting, I think would be helpful, just to help us with context and stuff. And they can hop on and hop off. It's not like they have to sit, but I did find that helpful. Any other questions? No? Item 9, raise items for future agendas. Anything?
The only thing I had was we had the closed session on property that we have hanging out there. So
Yes.
other than that,
Yes. Great. Go ahead.
And,
Nancy.
well, we had talked about inviting the new CFO from the services, but I think
Yeah. Did
an
you talk to
update
her?
from health services in general, because
Sure.
that seems to be the big question that I keep hearing out there, what's going on.
Sure, along those lines. I did meet with Nettie Rose about 10 days ago, and we had that conversation about inviting her to the council. She and I both agreed that a little bit more time in her chair would make that visit more productive. So we were looking more in sort of the June, July timeframe, as she's getting her feet under her. But we can certainly ask for an update on the search.
Do that. And for the CFO, please tell her, we're not gonna question her on things. I think it's more just putting a face to a name and,
It's CEO.
see. Okay.
I did a tour of the medical center the other day, and she was there with Susan, and she was very, very outgoing. I think we'll have a good meeting with her.
She certainly seems very happy, doesn't
Yeah,
she?
she does.
In a good way. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Those in
Second.
favor? Aye.